Hi,
Hey, Jaime, how is it going?
doing well. Everything going okay?
Yes. Had some great sessions today.
Good vibes. That's beautiful. Well, it's thank you for moderating. And I'll all right, beautiful people. Happy Wednesday. If you are falling asleep or not. Yeah, I don't know why they put sessions at 2:50 in the afternoon. So bear with me. I'll try to limit my jokes, but smile at you to give you some affirmations. All right. I see a few of you on camera, so thank you, Cecilia Gomez. I see you all the way from Common Sense. Awesome to see you, huh? Dominic, thank you for giving me your affirmations. Yeah, just wanted to highlight you. Yeah, I don't know what your background is, but let me just quickly give you an affirmation. Yeah. All right, so let's just get this started, and we're going to roll with this. Here's what we're going to do in the next 30 minutes. We are going to attempt to define what these things called micro engagements are. What I'm essentially doing is taking what kids do every day online and then see if we can emulate that in the classroom. And then the second thing we're going to do is actually practice what that could potentially look like for you in your case. And then you all can just kind of let me know what's happening with you if there's still some time, and we'll gather just sort of some collective things that you do to have micro experiences in the classroom. All right, let me get started. I think my moderator, I think Jill, are you good? Do I sound okay to everyone before we start?
Oh yeah, Jaime, you sound great, man. You
Oh,
sound great.
lots of love. How do I look though? Does it look like
Oh,
I'm
you
a
look
presenter?
yeah,
Good.
we can see really clearly. Yes,
I just
so
need that affirmation. That's
yeah,
beautiful.
you look
Thank you.
beautiful, man. Just to let you know.
All right, good people. Let me share my screen and then get started. I want to just also welcome my our intern for the summer, but also my colleague in this, Cecilia Gomez. Would you like to say a little bit about yourself and your role this afternoon?
Yeah, thank you, Jamie. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cecilia Gomez. As Jamie mentioned, I am the Education Outreach Intern this summer, and I was a former SFUSD student from pre-K to 12th grade. So super happy to be here, and thank you all for your hard work and all that you do for us.
You're amazing, Cecilia. Good vibes. All right, let me share my screen and let's get started. I hate to be that jerk, but I'm going to just give you all the deck beforehand. So if you somehow multitask during this time, we'll roll with it. All right. And can somebody give me like a thumbs up and like, yeah, I see your screen? Lovely, lovely, lovely. All right, let's get started. So the first thing, I think if you haven't signed in, you know the spiel, but by all means, feel free to sign in this particular space. I think you all have that link. Won't take too much time. On the deck, it's on the second slide as well. And then information around being paid. I'm assuming you've already sort of heard this, but if you have not already, there is your task in order to do that. I'll leave that up for the next 5 seconds as I just glance around the room and smile at everybody. Lindsay, Lindsay Morgan. I like how you look at when you're on camera. It's really neat. It looks like you're concentrating a lot. So kudos to you for having a very cool, engaging disposition this afternoon. All right, let's get started. So really quickly, we at Common Sense do a number of things. If you are not aware of our content, we partnered for a number of years now with Harvard Graduate School of Education. And we have these topics, 6 core topics that address digital literacy skills or citizenship skills, or as San Francisco defines them, agency skills. And the key here is really for you to kind of think about how our kids are engaging at the secondary level, how are engaging in technology all the time, without potentially judging that, and also empathizing with all the unique ways in which they use and misuse technology. For today, though, I'm going to just attempt to figure out what that looks like in our own space. And here's what we're going to do. I'm going to turn off the screen in a second, and I'm going to ask you all to think about your own digital moment, something that actually happened with someone or something. This can be anything from like a humorous text that you sent to maybe ghosting someone if you're single on the call. This could be anything from turning on your phone and then realizing that you needed something, so turning it back on. What I want you to do is I want you to think about that moment and then blurt it out in a second, right? This isn't like a warm up or anything. This is just like, how do we actually keep this real? So what was your digital moment? And I'm that jerk teacher that just calls on random people. So if you haven't been paying attention the last 4 minutes, I will just call on you. You can say pass. Kit Bell, I like your green shirt. Would you mind unmuting and just share what has been your digital moment the last like 24 hours?
Learning about AI this morning in one of the video sessions.
Love it, right? If I hear the word AI again, I'm going to throw up. This is so great, right? But spot on, right? The idea of actually learning about new technologies sparks our interest, right? Bonnie, would you mind unmuting and sharing what your digital moment was this past 24 hours? Oh, you're on mute, but yeah, your digital moment is those like try to like adjust to mic settings on Zoom. So don't sweat it. I can tell that was a rewarding. All right, maybe one other person. Vo Cheng, if can I ask you to unmute? What has been your digital moment this afternoon or the last 24 hours?
I've been trying to get. I'm a new SF USC employee. I just got my email, so I got myself set up. But then they won't let me into Empower. And so after submitting a help desk, they kicked me back out and said, "Yeah, we're not going to help you."
Jeez, don't get me started on Empower just quite yet. Yeah, already hired and then not paid. Oh, just kidding, SFUSD. I love you guys' presence, but geez, let's do away with the jokes around that piece. But yeah, that is a moment, right? So why do I actually just do this? Why did we spend so much time just thinking about our digital moment? Is because our kids constantly are having these very unique moments all the time. Sometimes they have to react to them. Other time, as Vo just pointed out, that it becomes a much more layered experience that makes them feel stressed or that makes them feel, some type of tension. And the bigger issue here is actually just thinking about how we can take those moments and incorporate them into our classroom, right? So what we're attempting to do here is to capture those moments and to figure out where in our classroom settings or where in our spaces are we emulating and are we mirroring the interactions our kids have online? That's kind of the call here for us. So let me share my screen really quickly and kind of share what that process looks like for us as we get into it. The first is just you should know that as you think about agency, you want to think about what it is, the skills that our kids need to experience being online safely and creating online and being responsible as they're using it. At Common Sense, we have these like 5 core dispositions or skills as we kind of define them around how our kids should slow down and reflect before they respond, how they should actually seek evidence and facts before actually engaging. So if you're using AI, what are the ways in which you use it in an effective way? Consider other people's perspectives. So you can look at this slide as a way to model what it means to have engagements online. All right, let's just do sort of an inventory in terms of what does it actually mean to create experiences, and then I will let you know the definition very shortly. First is we need to know and we need to define to what extent your lessons are too dense and how to break up the content. And I'll get into the why in a second, but take inventory for the next lesson or the next unit you're doing. If you have a 90-minute class or 45-minute class, how many chunks are broken out in your particular section? You may already do this, but if you don't already do this, you want to slice that in half so you can, as much as you can, and try to incorporate smaller experiences in that if you can. The second is thinking about guidelines, right? What exactly, not rules, but guidelines of how our kids can interact using online tools or using tech tools in a way that's helpful. We'll help you to sort of build what that looks like momentarily. And then finally are these experiences that I'm terming micro experiences. These are experiences that help a child mirror what they do online with the content that they see in the classroom. Does this make sense, everyone? Judith, I don't know what you're eating, but it looks really good. So at some point, I'll share my email address, send that over. That looks amazing. All right, so what exactly are these things? And these experiences, or what we term as micro experiences, are online. They're actually activities that help a student sort of practice a skill that is actually part of the achieving that type of outcome that you might have. So if you are a 10th grade teacher, for example, teaching US history on the call, you might want to consider a part of, let's just say we're studying the Harlem Renaissance or the 1920s. You want to think about what are the experiences that the child might have that might not make them meet the entire unit outcomes, but allow them to practice the experience of meeting those outcomes. Sounds a little confusing. We'll practice that secondly, right? And then digital well-being, I think we've already kind of defined, which is just making sure that kids feel successful when they're online. All right. I'm speaking very quickly because I want to make sure I get into the content, but here's sort of what I want us to kind of think about. On average, our kids, and this is why, this is probably like the slide that is the sort of the why behind this entire session. On average, our kids, the followers that, or the YouTube creators or TikTok creators that have 500 or more followers, on average, their videos are around 32 seconds. And actually that time has dropped to about 19 seconds. And so we want to note that our kids, many of us, are watching content that is much shorter in length, right? So the attention span, the need for our kids to want to watch and differentiate something is very real, right? On average, our kids, roughly again, that 5 to 8 years old, spend about 19 minutes a day playing computer games. If you've struggled with your classroom norms, even realize that your kids are playing games online, just note that mini games are now a big trend. They continue to be a big trend online. And on average, they're spending about 19 minutes a day on that. Kids that are 11 to 16, I don't know the data on that. I should double check the data, but on average, I want to say something like 32 minutes, but don't quote me on that. I noted on that. And then the final piece is that our kids are often are engaging with apps that more consistently notify them more often, right? So they're wanting to respond more often. So there's sort of this call and response that goes on in the tech. Why is this all important? Because the call here, the invitation here is for you all to think about how you're incorporating what our kids predominantly see online, how you then incorporate these things, these aspects into the way in which you teach. So let me shut my mouth just for a second and get some feedback from you all to say, like, how is it as you as educators incorporate things that our kids are doing online into the classroom? Mrs. Jones, I know you're not, I don't see your actual face, but because I like the smile on your face, would you mind unmuting and sharing maybe ways in which you align your teaching practices to what our kids do online?
I use some videos from, say, TikTok in my lesson plans, and or giving students little micro breaks or little chances, micro games that they can play for a few minutes.
I absolutely love that, right? The actual incorporation of TikTok, it's very challenging to kind of do that. So I commend you for even incorporating that into your classroom. And I also like the fact that you have those micro breaks. Has it been successful for you, if you don't mind me asking?
Yes, definitely, especially as we have block schedules. So you just really have to break things up as much as you can.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. And, anytime you want to co-collaborate on this workshop, please let me know. You are either that or you stole my deck. So, Peter, would you mind sharing, unmuting things that maybe you do that incorporates what kids are doing online?
Yeah, I have actually would like to get feedback from you or anybody. I tried to replicate like an Instagram page for a main character in a book they were reading. But really I was just working with like a printout template that they were drawing, and they could do it online too, but it just seemed kind of flat. And I didn't have a lot of time to develop it. So I just like, the idea was like, I would just historical fiction too. So like something from like the 1920s, it's got an Instagram, make it seem like it's revelatory of who they are.
Lisa, go right ahead. I see your hand up. And Peter, thanks for sharing. That's a wonderful, that's a really great example of how you actually can incorporate what the aesthetic or the everyday experiences that you see online. Yeah.
Hi, I had a response to Peter. Peter, I've done that. It's really cool. What you could do to flip it and make it easier, you make the Instagram post and they comment on it as other like people, like Pot Seat, whoever you want, character or figure.
I love that. Eliza, will you do me a favor? I don't know if I pronounced your name right. Would you mind privately chatting Peter, even the group, on how you sort of did that as you did that, and then some contact information? I like good people meeting with one another, right? And if on the off chance that you do meet for coffee or water, I will sponsor it because I love that collaboration that just happened.
I'd do it if I could in chat.
Yeah. Peter, you cool with that? You're okay with making friends as adults? Okay, great.
Can you give me chat capabilities?
Yes, what a jerk. I will give you chat capabilities. Joe, would you mind doing that as a moderator? It'll happen at some point, Mr. So I'll just have our moderator do that. All right, is this making sense, everyone? Before we have that, it sounds like you all already do this very well. I want to just give you then the framework on how, if you haven't done that, you are able to do that now as we kind of close off, or as we incorporate some of these tools. So give me 1 second. I'm just finding my screen one more time. So just a sort of a quick note, I'll touch on it in the next session we have, but obviously technologies and micro experiences, our kids are widely sort of interested in evolving technologies like ChatGPT and DALL-E and a number of others. This is sort of a figure as to why these in micro engagements can apply in evolving technologies like artificial intelligence and so on. So again, I'll let you read this, but just kind of get into it. If I were in your shoes and I'm doing these things, as Peter and others have sort of pointed out that they were doing, the first thing I'd want to do is to create dynamic guidelines. And what that essentially means is the following. If you are going to create experiences in your rules or in the first sort of 10 days, I might create, and again, I've given you the example, I might create classroom tech agreements around these experiences that you have online. So for example, if you know you're going to use TikTok, and that is a tool that you're using, then you want to create a guidelines for how your students are actually going to access that particular tool or how you're going to use that in the classroom right away. And so what I've given you here is a link to and Cecilia, I don't know if you can add that onto the chat if you have access, but this is a dynamic sort of agreement where a school district has used these rules and other teachers have then applied them into the classroom when they're talking about certain tools or tech. So again, this isn't about rules per se. This is about how you can incorporate the tools that you're using, how students can code switch into using them very differently in the classroom. Let me give you a quick example of how that can actually work. If I am teaching an 8th grade class and I'm asking my students to log on to an Instagram account or log on to an account that I want them to comment on, then my agreements are going to be teaching my kids how to comment in a way that reinforces the particular lesson or the way in which you're using technology or using that particular platform. If we're watching TikTok videos, I might say to the kids, in the first 30 seconds, when we watch TikTok videos, you are free to watch these particular videos, but if I catch you doing something else, then we might have issues, right? You want to make sure that they have the creative sort of liberty to be engaged with the tool, but also give them parameters and guidelines on how to use that. Does this make sense, everyone? Beautiful. All right. So what exactly does this mean? Let's just actively practice that. Cecilia, in your time at SFUSD, though, did you notice or can you sort of comment on any guidelines or even experiences that you had with your teachers?
Oh boy, I think my experience is a little different from the experience of those today. For context, I graduated high school in 2020. So technology was around and social media was around, but there were more strict guidelines in how we implemented it in the classroom, which it appears that now social media is being incorporated more and more, and we're weaving it more and accepting it as a part of our students' lives rather than as something that needs to be contained and constricted and pushed aside as outside of school hours.
Yeah, I respect that. Thank you for that. Thanks for that commentary. Yeah, you're absolutely right. All right. All right. So what are the actual pieces on that? So this is how I might sort of start. The first sort of agreement or the first micro experience that you might have is to name and be explicit about where tech in digital wellness and digital agency, what it looks like in your particular unit. And I might create sort of a way for our kids to respond very quickly to these assets. Let me give you a quick example of this. If you are an English teacher and you're asking your kids to work on this big project, the very first slide or the ending slide of your unit overview or your assignment overview might include a slide like this, which is, and as we use technology, how might we use this in a responsible way, right? It's very quick feedback that you want to get from your students that enable them to have a much more dynamic narrative or an experience that they can play with as a whole. The second is the incorporation of sort of this virtual DJ, as I like to call it. with TikTok and other platforms now incorporating or having incorporating sound and music, a really great way is to incorporate sound and music in that space. And so how I might use this and how I've seen this done is that if you are a teacher, you might ask the kids to then develop a soundtrack of your unit. On the left, I've sort of given an example of a teacher that used it to reinforce, I think it was a Harlem Renaissance that. And so what she did for the entire week is she had a different DJ in the class go into YouTube and bring up a famous music during the Renaissance period. And for the entire period, different students can go in and change the channel or readjust sort of the musical spaces on it. It's a really great way to remix. And then on the right, physics teacher is really great at creating a soundtrack of objects that have different decibel levels. I really enjoyed their project. I'll link them up, but it's a really interesting way to discuss and talk about decibels as a whole on that. So virtual DJs are a wonderful, wonderful way to incorporate these experiences. Let me stop sharing my mouth for a second and then ask, does anybody use sound or video or audio in a way that could potentially help the group? Yeah, Lindsay, go ahead. You want to share some context or?
Sorry, I have a mouthful. But yeah, I love using music in the class. I'm a history teacher, and I mean, I've done something with the Harlem Renaissance where whether it's like playing music in the background that is like connected to the lesson in some way, and I like touch upon it in the lesson. I mean, like you even gave me an idea of like, you know, creating having the kids create their own playlist. That's awesome. So yeah, I think it's really important to kind of get that audio as well as visual and get their critical thinking skills working. So
I love it, Lindsay. That's amazing. And on the off chance you are open to sharing maybe things that you've done in the past or have any random lessons from the years past, by all means, share them on the chat or share them with me privately and I'll share them with the group. Very, very cool. I love that. And whatever mouthful that you had, whether it was grapes or beef jerky, kudos to you for eating at this hour. All right, anyone else before we close up? Lovely. David, I want to just recognize your nonverbals in terms of that. So is there any questions, thoughts, or just general feedback from your little tile that I see on that thing? Anything that you're thinking about?
Well, I'm coming from a space of being utility infielder for my middle school. I retired last year. Before that, I did PE coming out of the pandemic. I was looking at other ways, just not even necessarily focused on, you know, the content of the lesson, but, you know, for transitions, for, okay, we got to clean up. So by the time the music is, the track is played, that's when you need to be done and ready for whatever the next activity is. So they have some ownership and, but can also, you know, make sense of the music, or particularly picking tracks or something that they know is winding down.
Yeah, I think absolutely on so many levels, right? Just thinking what I gathered from you is just like the idea of giving the students not only agency to discuss what it is that they're doing, but also having them reflect on the why behind that and be mindful of the practice that those sort of metacognitive experiences with, in this case, music as a whole on that. All right, let's just quickly run through.
In this video, you'll learn.
I'll just give you some additional sort of tips. Many of our kids have a lot of digital dilemmas or issues that they want to speak to an adult about, but there's often no spaces to do that. And to Peter's point around using the tools themselves, an Instagram post, I might encourage you to think about a few of these activities, and that is get a shoebox. And again, you want to create the guidelines, but provide a space where kids might be able to share questions or comments or feedback around dilemmas or issues that they might have in online spaces. And then if you have built trust, you've built in a solid community, a really great way is to open up that box and answer some of the questions that you might have, or you might inquire that kids actually have around this their space. This is in Roosevelt. They had a student newsletter a number of years ago, and they encouraged kids to submit an online form to talk about their experiences online. This is another really great way to incorporate both micro experiences of what our kids are actually experiencing online and then letting them express that. And then I'll just kind of close with these experiences, which is providing dilemmas, right? If there's a little bit more time, I might start the classroom with, hey, this is what happened to me today. What do you think I should actually do? These are sort of ongoing dilemmas that would work out, right? I sort of said, I recently entered a raffle on Amazon, but don't remember if I bought anything. Should I actually click this or not? And this is a really great way to kind of have those conversations about why and what skills you're building in the process. We've given you kind of scenarios in our digital dilemmas and thinking routines at Common Sense. So I encourage you to look at this particular slide. And then Devora Merling, big shout out to her and the DOT team, but they created a wonderful way where they allow their students to expand on those particular dilemmas and run with them. So there's a particular scenario, and then the kids then have to resolve the scenario and ask additional hypothetical questions related to that. If you click on this link, you will see a really good example. And whoever created this, in addition to Devora, whoever used this, so spot on. I'm like a proud grandparent. This is such a wonderful piece. So, all right, let me just kind of close with some lessons for you. I know we're going to get into this in about 4 minutes in my other session, but this is if you're interested in thinking about how AI and micro experiences work, these are wonderful lessons that you can then incorporate into your classroom. Very short lessons. In this case, this is a high school lesson, assuming kids are creating their own app. How would they make the app with a humane design sort of intact? This is a wonderful way to kind of talk about technology in your classroom in a way that expands kids' understanding of what a tool does. And then I believe we have our last two is just like how to handle AI tools specifically and micro experiences in and out of the classroom. All right, you all, I'm going to stop sharing my screen because I just want to make sure that we close specifically. But if you want to provide your feedback, but more importantly, if you just need help and you're like, Jamie, you just covered so much without saying anything, I'm going to do the following for you. One is giving you my email address. I work with SFUSD closely. I can be your thought partner in giving you some specific examples on how to incorporate some of these tools. And then again, the slide deck is there if you'd like to take any information around that. But before I do, Eliza and Peter, you all were able to connect with one another, right? Or you still don't have access?
I think I emailed Peter.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. Cool. We'll get to that. Is there any other thoughts that you all have before I close off the session? Any other, Jamie, give me this type of help or any other support that I might be able to offer?
Hi there. Thank you so much, Jamie. I just wanted to say, out of this whole day, I think that was the most informative and like the most tips that I've gotten out of any workshop today. So thank you so much. I was wondering, other than these slides, is there like a Google Classroom, a collaborative document where we're allowed to collaborate with each other and utilize each other's ideas? Just because there are so many ideas that came up today that I did not even think of implementing in my classroom. So I think that would be really useful.
Oh my God, that is such an amazing experience. So here's what I'll do. I will get everybody's contact from this session, and not to be that jerk that sends like the mass email, but at the very least begin to start a kind of a collaborative doc. If you all are open to the idea, right? We want to support each other. And then maybe on occasion, I'll throw in like a raffle for a free beer or some ice or something on the weekend, something like that will incentivize the idea of filling it out. But I love that, Josephine. Thank you for the very kind words. And I will certainly do that to promote sort of this ongoing collaboration, if you all are okay with that. Would that work for everyone? And again, please say no, or just, I will promise not to email everyone. But yeah, I absolutely love that idea. All right, wonderful folks. That's the end. I want to make sure that I'm mindful of your time. So if you haven't filled out the survey, please do so. But more importantly, please share any kind words or affirmations to one another as you see each other in other sessions. All right. Cecilia, thanks for being alive. Thanks for being a graduate at the San Francisco Unified. I'll see you in about a minute.
And I do want to say, I think I see one of my math teachers here, Mr. Chu. It's been a while. I never finished a semester with you, but I appreciate you for pre-cal.
What a
Oh,
moment.
who's that? Who's that? This is Mr. Chu.
Yeah, hi, Mr. Chu. I'm so happy to see you again.
Oh, what's your name? I don't see your name on the.
If you're Mr. Chu from Lowell High School, who
That's
taught
right, that's me.
pre-calc.
That's right.
Cecilia
Yes,
Gomez.
I'm Cecilia. I graduated a few years ago. I just thought I'd shout you
Oh,
out.
yeah, that's I was looking at your picture. You look so familiar. Okay.
So
This is
yeah,
great.
just want to thank you for everything.
You're welcome.
I didn't plan that, by the way. That was really cute. So that it does make a difference. Have a beautiful life, everybody. We'll chat with you real soon. Okay.
Where's the survey?
At the very end of the doc, at the very end of the slideshow, I'll put that in there one more time so you have that. Thanks, Anna.
Thank you.
Bye.
Excuse me, can I ask a quick question? Excuse me, can I ask you a question?
Hi, are we the only people here? Hello?